hall, and I am very excited to be here. And I would like to introduce you to my grandson, Rudolf Hoess, correct? I know the name well. Who is also one of Hitler's children. We are very honored and pleased that he finally arrived here after a long, dramatic trip. So here is a microphone for you.
Thank you, and good evening. Good evening. So you want to listen a little about me. So, yeah, I'm the grandson of Rudolf Hoess. You saw that in the film. I'm 49 years old, father of 4 children, 2 grandchildren. And yeah, I'm working against racism and anti-Semitic and racism in Europe, right now in America as well, with a very, very good project with Eva. So we met in July.
Yes.
After I hunted her many years to get in touch with her, but it was not possible. When she was in Auschwitz, I was in London. She was back in the States, I was in Auschwitz. So it needs a long time to get in touch with her. And then we got the chance to meet together at Auschwitz to sign the pledge on the selection platform. Yeah, and it was the best thing in my life to meet her. I met many survivors before, the barber of my grandfather, Josef Paczynski. I met Zvi Moldovan, he is one of the guy out of the Sonderkommando, which took out the corpses out of the oven after they get killed by gassing. So, yeah, and right now I'm here in Terre Haute and awaiting your questions.
What I think would be interesting for this group as well as for me, if you could tell us a little bit of the background, how did that film happen, and a little bit about your involvement, or how do you feel about making this film?
It was Hanoch in 2009. He contacted me after he searched about 60 grandchildren of perpetrators, and only 5 agreed to be in the film. The rest hang up the phone, send their lawyers, and make bad sentence to him about Jewish heritage. And so the ideology bears fruit in some of these families of high-ranking Nazi leaders. That was the part, and I agreed. Well, I saw a chance that, and I think the perpetrator as well, the descendant family, had the same problem. It was not speaking in the family about that time. So it was a secret on both sides. And I think we, as the grandchildren of perpetrators, we also bear a heavy cross. We have a name which sometimes bears a lot of horror for people. So I met many people with Jewish heritage, and I was not aware that they are Jewish. So the horror came up, and they asked me a couple of questions about it. So we traveled, and it was the task of Hanoch. I was not sure. I didn't know that there was a ceremony of Jewish students. So it was for me the first time. And normally, and you saw it in the film, I'm a very controlled person. So I got trained in my youth from my dad to be controlled in my life, not showing emotion, all that stuff, like the Hitler used in the past as well. So to be strong and strength in all belongings, what happens to the family.
So basically what you are saying, to be involved in that, it's difficult for you in one respect, because that's what I also try to get out from. How do you feel? You, let's be honest, you cannot sit through that film and watch it. And that would be interesting for you to explain. It's difficult for you to be in touch with your own feelings about what happened. In one respect, I understand. In one respect, you feel tremendous guilt that your family, your grandparents, grandmother and grandfather, Hoess, were involved, your uncles, your father, they are all pursuing the Nazi philosophy and they believe it was right, or lie about it and say they didn't do anything wrong, right? That is one problem. The other one is for you that to see the children, grandchildren, survivors, and then you feel guilty that also they did that. But in one respect, you want to control your feelings. You don't want to show how you feel because it's too difficult for you. That is the reason you didn't watch the film.
I think in my case, which I growing up in a ideology-influenced family, so the rest of my family, like my aunts, uncles, and my father, are deeply influenced. So they believe in that ideology they grow up with. So my father is a right-winger. He is active in Germany in the NPD, the Nazi party in Germany, which gaining ground now in the European Parliament as well. So it was not allowed for us in the youth to show emotions. So to see me, and I'm sure you cannot imagine how it is to see young students with their flags walking there, and it was about 1,200 young students, Israeli students with their flags, very proud of their country, of what they did. So you see them walking in with the flags, and everything was very nervous. So they make the ceremony, and you sit there. Or in my case, I was standing beside. I only want to see a ceremony like this. I never saw that before, or was in touch with Israeli students. And then I'm standing there and hearing my name all the time. So it was the first time that I'm losing control, that I'm losing my control. So it was like out of a bird perspective, to standing there in front and not knowing what happened. So I'm very controlled of all my doings. So I never went in or jumped in a situation I have no control over it. But this was a situation I was not able to control myself, to control everything around. And I was not sure what happened minutes later when I stand in front of these students. What means what happened? No. I talked to myself and said, okay, you have to stand it. But it was a bad feeling for me. It was like my father and my grandfather was in my neck. So I feel them breathe in every second I stand in front. But I was sure to do the right thing right now, and I let it run. So I lose my control, and I run that task in that moment, and I stand it. But to see me in this way, it's like a personal punishment for me all the time. So I saw that film one time on the screening in Israel, 2010. Well, we have to show the film first in Israel to get the permission from the state government that it will shown worldwide. And we are not aware about the impact of that film. So it was Hanoch Sevi is as well a grandson of a survivor family, which get killed at Auschwitz. For him, it was as well for me or the other in the film a huge step to do a film like that and show a film only with the perpetrator side in Israel. So 12 minutes for screening in the official government TV. We got permission from the Knesset. So it was very nervous everything, if they give us the allowance to show the film. And it was an impact. Right now the film was shown in Germany and America, I don't know how many times. He won all the prizes, and he's surprised about our work. So we are still friends right now. We're working on the next project. But for me, it is a personal punishment all the sad to see that. And I'm the only one in my family who fights for it. The rest, so one of my aunts in America, DC, she would love that if somebody comes on the corner and kills me, so that I'm out of the family.
Okay, I think that I would like anybody else who's interested in asking questions. I would be wonderful. So Dorothy, would you like to proceed with? Oh,
I'm not clear quite. Did you know that you would be speaking to the Israeli students at Auschwitz? That was at Auschwitz, that encounter. Did you know that you would be speaking to them before you did speak to them?
No.
And they did not know that you...
No. We know
It was
not each other. So they were also shocked when the teacher comes up with a name and said the grandson is here today, maybe he is able to answer your questions.
You didn't know that
No,
the teacher...
I didn't know things about it.
Introduce you?
No.
Oh. Thank you very much.
Yes, hello, thank you for being here. When did you first become aware of your legacy in your life? How old were you?
I was 12-year-old and I was in a special private boarding school in Germany. And it was I made a mistake in my youth like many other young kids as well. So we get hungry, we took our suitcases and we stole food in the kitchen. So when we climb out of the window, one of the guards, the security guards, they found us, bring us to the director, so we had to take our consequences. And that means in that boarding school to work for the gardener. What I not know was that the gardener was a survivor of Auschwitz. So we get 2 weeks to help him in his belongings, to go under the trees and all that stuff what he had to do in a garden. My friends from the room went out 2 weeks and my punishment starts after these 2 weeks for 3 months. And one of our German teachers, he took me away, he helped me to escape out of the punishment, but I was not sure what happened. So the gardener went to the director and said he didn't work good, he don't follow my instructions and all that stuff, he slaps me, I got beaten by him. And then this German teacher took me to Dachau. It was the first time that I put a feet on a concentration camp. And I saw a lot of plates on the wall which were acting about my grandfather. And then we come home, I asked him, my father, if it's true. And he said, my son, no, that's a completely mistake. Your grandfather called Hoess, but they mean Hess, the adjutant of Hitler. Then I said, oh my goodness, I'm so happy that we're not involved in such a crime. But in the age of 12, you're not thinking so long about things like that. So later on, I get in touch with the driver of my grandfather, Leopold Heber. He was a member in our family all the time, but I didn't know that he was the driver of him. So he starts to educate me, to bring me on the same level like the rest of the Hoess children, to get influenced. But for me, it was only interesting to get all this information, to take it. Well, it was not a time of internet like we have today. So that became the power in my life.
How do you respond to people that question your sincerity or your motives?
I think it depends on the people. So I do my work and I do it daily. So to talk to people, it's the only option I have. So if people think it is opportunism, I do. Sorry. You cannot change these people. these are normally the same people, they follow the right-wingers or racisms as well.
Basically, I think that Reiner comes across as a very self-assured person, and at times it's difficult even for me, and I have struggled with that myself. I thought he was so perfect in his behavior that it cannot happen. And the other thing for you to understand, I didn't know he existed until April 18. And that might be interesting for some of you to know how our friendship, deeper friendship started. He is writing me an email after I respond to his email, and the first email he sent me back, he said, "When I see you, could I hug you?" And I thought to myself, the Nazis, grandson, well, how on earth does he know how to hug? I didn't know that Nazis were that good at hugging. And I was trying to make sense of what was going on, so I said to him, being as polite as I could, because I have never gotten an email from anybody, first email to tell me, "Could I hug you?" Have any of you gotten any kind of email? And so I wanted to be nice and polite. I said, "Sure, I will hug you too." Then he's responding to me, he said, "Well, I would like you to be my grandmother." I said, "Just a moment, I don't know who on earth you are, and I have never met you. I don't know if you're a make-believe phantom or just somebody who wants to play games or jokes." And I said, "No, I'm not that fast." So from there on, I will tell you that Dorothy and some of the board members know that one day I would believe that he says that who he is. Other days I said, no, he's making it all up. So it's very difficult to believe him. Very difficult. It's a full-time job. But I think that I am at a point where I definitely understand him. I believe him. I think he's very sincere, even though he's acting at times quite arrogant. Right? Guilty as charged. So I understand your question. I did not really know that it was hurting him that much to see the film and to see what the perpetrators have done. Because I really believe that his actions in standing up against neo-Nazis, which really is a very important campaign, and you should talk a little bit more about what you do with it. How many people do you talk? How many places do you just stop in the last 2 months? Can you remember, Content? Okay. You're good at math. You're not getting old. But basically, that because he turned this very big negative, right? Being the grandson of a Nazi, for you was a negative as you discovered it. And he turned it into a positive. So he's using that idea that he is going to stand up against the neo-Nazis and prevent another Hitler or another Rudolf Hoess from coming to doing what they did. That, I think, should set you free a little bit. Doesn't that give you any kind of peace of mind?
No, to work every day with my legacy in different ways. So Eva asked about it. I work for the SSU Social Democrats in Sweden. It's different to the American Social Democrats. So I have to learn that in many times.